Revenge is not necessarily a bad thing, but it is a dangerous thing. When I got back at bullies in my high school, I didn't and still don't feel any guilt over sneak attacking them after they beat me up. However, the reason it's a dangerous thing is because it's all too easy to take it too far and end up doing something worse than what was done to you. I feel bad about snapping someone's prescription glasses after they pestered me when I told them to leave me alone. The punishment didn't fit the crime, and that's how revenge can go too far and become a slippery slope. Today, I want to take a look at two games that are all about getting vengeance and show you the consequences in going too far in pursuit of revenge. The Last of Us Part 2 and Dishonored. Now, both Corvo and Ellie have had despicable crimes committed against them, so their fury is understandable, but the rampage that they go on isn't, because often innocent people end up paying the price for the actions of a select few, but we'll get into that a little later. Corvo arguably receives a worse punishment than Ellie, though it's hard for the player to realize that, as they themselves don't care about the Empress and Emily at this point. Nor does Corvo ever express any fury, though he never expresses anything, and I really think a silent protagonist was the wrong choice for him, but that's a different video. Corvo has the option to spare every character in the game, including the required targets. Well, I suppose the player has the option, but we're focusing on the narrative rather than the mechanics in this video. To me, the player is acting as Corvo's conscience, choosing whether or not to give into hatred or retain the moral high ground. Corvo has no reason to kill hapless guards other than the fury he feels at having his lady murdered and being blamed for her assassination. And the game directly punishes you for choosing to be violent by having the plague become worse due to the rats being lured out into the streets by dead bodies. Corvo's anger ends up destroying the world around him. The critical thing with this mechanic is that the game doesn't judge you for killing your intended targets who deserve to die. Raising your blade against guards who are just trying to do their jobs is what rots the streets with decay. It's not exacting vengeance that's bad, it's going overboard. Now, you might be thinking, oh, these guys are just nameless guards who are willing to work for an evil person, so I shouldn't feel bad for them dying. But that's like saying Amazon workers are just as guilty as Jeff Bezos. If Corvo kills the guards, he's delivering the same punishment to them as he is to the targets. In his mind, the guard is just as guilty as the master, which is the wrong way of thinking. Corvo doesn't see his enemy as individuals who betrayed him, he sees the entire world as his enemy for believing the lies they were told. This is a destructive way of thinking, and the game agrees that the guards aren't guilty. It not only rewards you for not killing the guards, but it also gives an even greater reward for not killing the intended targets, while also punishing them worse than if you were to kill them. Banishing or enslaving your targets is a much more horrifying punishment than simply killing them, although I would argue that the game goes too far with Lady Boyle, as giving her to a perverted kidnapper is probably the most extreme punishment you can give, and there are only a select few crimes that deserve that kind of revenge. So despite being a game about vengeance, Dishonored is trying to say that revenge is more satisfying when you don't retaliate with violence, which in my case I found to be true. However, sneak attacks really were the only retribution I wanted for some of my bullies. The Last of Us has a different way of making us regret our actions. Many people criticize Part 2 for trying to guilt trip us into taking actions we had to do, and the main counter was, well, just sneak past them, it never forces you, the player, to kill people who weren't in that cabin. To me, both sides are missing the point. The game isn't trying to make you feel bad for killing, it's trying to make you feel bad for not questioning the killing. If Ellie only kills the people who wronged her, then the narrative falls apart, because then Ellie is no worse than the people who wronged her, and she doesn't deserve to have a sad ending because she was justified in wanting to murder them. See, when I first saw the enemies of Part 2, I thought to myself, so they're a liberation front who shoot first and are xenophobic to outsiders and have a wolf as their symbol? And then I saw the Seraphites and I thought to myself, are they seriously making the alt-right and fundamental Christians the enemies? That is bold. But when Abbey Day 1 rolls around, it's revealed that my interpretation was wrong. This is a community no different than Jackson, it's just bigger, and then I'm washed over with the guilt for not even thinking of them as human when I played as Ellie. It makes me wonder whose husband, wife, mother, and father did I just spend 8 hours butchering? I wasn't even considering that I was doing the same thing that Abby did to Joel, but with absolutely no personal vendetta against them. Dishonored gives you the option of avoiding murder, but it's upfront about how you shouldn't kill. Meanwhile, The Last of Us has an unavoidable gut punch that no one would be prepared for. Both styles of guilt work, but I think one is a lot more effective at conveying the message. I'll be back in 2 days. In the meantime, here's a video on how The Last of Us makes the angsty teen trope